We are back at Loud and Ugly Garage here, Dad's shop. We've got the axle ends that I cut off of the original tractor axle that we've got to somehow make wheel adapt over to the go-kart axle that I bought from Amazon so that we can get the tractor done. We're going to use the lathe that I got from someone this summer. We've got it set up here in the shop. I don't have room for it over where I store the truck, so we're going to work on that here, and then we'll give you an update on what Dad's been doing to my mom's little truck frame here as well.
We're back again at the project here. This thing's been kind of a nightmare. It looks like it was not much different than the last time we worked on it, but there's actually a lot that went into it. It started out with this axle that I bought off of Craigslist a long time ago, and it had AMC Javelin brakes and rotors on it, and it uses a Ford Econoline spindle. So now I have GM rotors and GM calipers. I had to custom make some mounts for the brakes, and actually the bearings were all different. The seals were the wrong ones, so I had to custom fit everything on this. So it just took me forever to get to this point with the front end. And then we started running brake lines, and that takes forever to do the plumbing because I wanted it to look nice and access so that I can work on stuff later and not be able to have to take the hard lines apart and all that. So it's just taken a long time, and then I ran the fuel line and the battery cable up front and stuff. We put the tank in it since the last time I think you were here. My daughter made up some vinyls. She does vinyl stuff for herself and the family, and she does a little bit of stuff for other people too. But my wife's dad served in Vietnam, and this is going to be her truck. She wanted a little bit of a tribute to him because we had the battery box that I left like ammo box, the way that it was original. When we did the tank, it kind of looked like the size of a Foot Locker or something, so we tried to mimic that and put the date that he served in Vietnam and stuff on here. So it's going to be pretty cool. All the brake lines came out awesome. We used the copper color. It contrasts that root beer paint really nice. Starting to get the wood for the bed. I had gotten this a long time ago. We ended up burning it and then staining it and sealing it now. But we're going to be putting that bed together here soon, and the cab's going to be on real quick. So things starting to move forward. Plan is to have it out by the spring.
So we've got our two little pieces here. This is the end of the axle from the original tractor axle. It's threaded, so this actually used to go into the transmission / rear end on the tractor, and the tractor wheels would bolt to this. They're threaded. So we've got to turn down this outer ring here on the go-kart style one. We've got to get this off of here, center this up, set them together flush so that we can drill 4 holes to bolt the new go-kart axle end onto the old lawnmower axle end. And then that way it'll work and you can bolt your wheel down, and we should be able to set the axle up that way. Well, I decided to go a different route with the axle flanges. So here they are. That's what's left of them. I just cut the splines out of the center and turned down on the lathe the original Simplicity axle shaft end. That way that these will just slide right in like that. And then they'll slide onto the end of the axle. and they'll still be removable that way. So we'll just weld those splines onto the old axle flange. That way the bolt pattern's correct, and that takes care of our rear axle problem. The front axle problem is that we want the tractor to be low to the ground. And right now it's got like lift spindles on it. So we're gonna try to do some jerry rigging here to make this work. We're gonna use 1.5 inches to lengthen the axle 4 inches. That way it's the same width as rear axle. Creates a little bit more stability. Also getting it lower to the ground will make it more stable as well. And then we're going to use some 2x4 chunks to make it spaced up. That way I can use the original spindles from the stock tractor axle. It's kind of hard to imagine that, so you'll see in a minute once we get that built up. I have the front tubular axle that we built out of that 1.5 inch DOM fully tacked into place. So that is the height that's going to sit at. The frame is a little bit more than the fist. It's 1 3/4 higher. So it's at about 5 3/4 ride height. So I've got the back shimmed up with the rear axle kind of sitting over it. The wheel adapters worked out perfect. I slid those onto the shaft, spline shaft, while I was welding them, just in case for any reason it blew through or something, because it was some cheap Chinese metal that was made out of those splines. So that all welded up just fine. It seems to hold just fine. We've got those bolted on. It's hovering over the frame. What I've got to do now is build some sort of system that goes up and over. I'll probably use this 1.5 inch tubing to go up and over the rear axle, and then the axle will mount to the lower part of the frame. The seat will set on here, and then I'll cut those fenders apart and get those spread out. So right now you can kind of see what the gist of this build is going to be. Nice lowrider tractor, wide. The tires actually do clear the frame when I turn. I don't have all the steering links set up. I do have to lengthen the tie rod on there. And then it's going to be tricky to get the steering actually finalized. But for now, at least we know it's going to work. The front axle's mounted down. We've got the rear axle with the tires on it, which was the main problem I was having because I needed to know ride height in the front so we could set ride height in the back, and then we can go from there. So this build kind of turned into a lot more than I wanted it to originally. If I would have stuck with the stock chassis, I could have just, I don't know, moved things around, flip the differential up to the top. I see a lot of lawnmower dudes who build these things do that, but I wanted to be a little bit different with a tube chassis. I think it looks pretty cool as well. So we'll catch you next time. We'll be working on this thing again. Hopefully we can get some more headway on this week and maybe be able to drive this thing here pretty soon.